Do you think that, with these oil and gas companies, and obviously, ESG is becoming bigger and bigger, and, there's a ton of institutional money dumping into it. How do oil and gas companies get incentivized to adopt technologies? Like I think about clean energy in a very pragmatic manner. We had a company come on the podcast the other day called Power Century. And the way that their technology works is that when a pump jack strokes up, it generates all this power and electricity. And then when it goes back down, it has a break and there's wasted energy. That gets routed into a battery and then rerouted back to the pump jack to power it up as it's coming back up. They can save an oil and gas company 20% on their electricity usage. And then Kevin at Intellis Capital told me the other day that 10% of all electricity used is for extracting resources out of the ground. So if you have a technology like this that helps oil and gas companies save 20% on electricity usage, it's making a big dent in the overall energy consumption. But, for them, it's easy because you can go to an E&P and say, hey, we're going to save you all this money on your lease operating costs and boost your ESG score. What if there's some technologies out there that can help oil and gas companies in Texas be cleaner, but it may not make economical sense? Do you ever see any type of incentives from a federal level or a state level to incentivize companies?
Not necessarily from an economic impact. I mean, there's the ESG standard that you refer to. But, I think oil and gas companies have spent a huge amount of their income on protecting the environment and what they do today. You had mentioned something about batteries and the downstroke on a pump jack and what that creates. I can guarantee you that if that makes economic sense to them, that would be happening. I mentioned to you guys earlier, a lot of that's powered today off solar panel. A lot of that's powered off wind generation at the well
you go out
location.
there. I mean, they're running chemicals off of solar. You see solar panels on all locations.
And those are places that are good use. The point that I made earlier, when you're trying to mass produce that to run a country on, that technology is truly not here today. And if we had to do that, what we would be doing to the environment would be a lot worse than what we're doing with fossil fuel today. Now, will technology continue? You just brought it up. I mean, that's a very good point. If that pump jack is going down and it's not doing anything and you can power a battery with it, I think that's great. But that's the technology that we got to continue to evolve with. And I can tell you that, the oil and gas industry certainly doesn't want to flare their gas off. So they always search for new technology to make sure that they can turn that into cash.
Yeah, they want to make money.
And I'm not
at the end of the
advocating
day.
for the industry. I'm just telling you facts.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's what, the technologies that I get most excited about in the next 5 years are ones that make an impact on ESG, but also make sense economically because it's such a big value proposition that...
The renewable energy has got even our investment community kind of messed up right now.
Oh, kind of. Very, very messed up.
I didn't want to say that, but very...
What other kind of like big problems are you seeing that you like really want to tackle? I mean, I don't follow politics a whole lot, and I guess things in Texas, are a little bit more relevant to me, particularly the Railroad Commission. So, like, what outside of flaring, outside of everything else we mentioned, like we never have any questions lined up. We don't do any research on having guests, and so I don't even know what some of the other hot topics are.
I'm glad you asked because I as you guys can see, I can stand on my soapbox for a long time. But,
I'm curious if you and Collin got on the soapbox seat, you'd last longer.
Yeah, I'll give you a run for your money.
Yeah, but as I said kind of earlier, we discovered the shale because we thought we were out of oil and natural gas, and we got fortunate and we discovered a shale, and that's put us in a whole different dynamic today of how to compete in the marketplace. The problem is we discovered the shale, and it's twofold because we have a market now that's on the world scale and we have a domestic market, and I think that we've done a really bad plan of how do we sustain that pricing and how do we compete in the market. So as a businessman, what I've been telling industry and what they've agreed with and volunteered to do is to come in and form task force, just like I did in the beginning of this process, and come up with a plan to where we can sustain that, recognize, number one, who is our competition and where is our market. Once we can really dissect that and figure that one out, then start planning how do we compete in that market and how do we compete with sustainability instead of the peaks and valleys that this industry always has experienced.
Absolutely.
Once industry, together with the Railroad Commission, can develop that plan It needs to be a plan that's unfolded to us as citizens here in Texas, so that we get behind that plan and we agree with that plan. And in that plan needs to be all of our environmental protections, which, guys, I can tell you, being in the environmental business all my life, you can comply with environmental rules and stride right along your economic progress. That's easy to do. Mm-hmm. It's just a level of understanding and education. So I think, the state of Texas needs to get behind that plan, because the state of Texas is huge. We have a lot of people here, a lot of people with good values that really, really dictate how our politics work in this nation. I mean, we carry a pretty big stick. Mm-hmm. So I think that would get the attention of the federal side to help us to make sure that we develop that marketing plan moving forward in the future. You asked the question. That is a big part. In fact, that has taken precedence over my guidance documents that I actually started this race on. We have to do that for us to sustain what Texas really is.